You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more to life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more to life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, light some bottles, impress them girls. It's more to life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan, and I am just pumped up and excited about that win. You couldn't ask for anything more exciting for a week one win. I just want to get through this first. I just want to get out some shout outs to a couple new subscribers real quick. Let me get that out of the way because I really do appreciate this. I want to shout out Trav504 and Mihi for giving me some new subscribers, 2 new subscribers and some likes. I really appreciate that. I just want to get that out of the way. And let's get into this. There's a lot to get into. So can I get a menu? And okay, really with this, I'm not gonna lie. I was probably going into halftime almost. Halftime, midway through the third quarter, I was already prepared to do a podcast about the Saints losing, honestly, but they kept battling back. They never gave up, and I'm a Saints fan. That there's some fair weather fans out there. I think a lot of fans know there's fair weather fans that once a team gets down by 10 points, 14 points, they turn it off. But nope. That's not what I do. I keep it on till the very end, and I feel bad for those people that were maybe at the game and left, or people that changed the channel or turned it off because they rage quit. They rage quit and didn't want to watch the rest of it. And also Hot Boy 504 Hot Boy. He also talked about the dirtiest mullet on the planet. I appreciate those comments. No hate. I love it. Talk about the mullet as well. But also, I love those kind of comments. That's the persona. That's my thing. That's what we got this thing for. But I just want to talk about one of the things I was talking about. First, let me get this out of the way. Talking about the Falcons players I was talking about, because that's the main thing I really talked about. All I talked about on the previous podcast is I really just talked about the key players on the Falcons that I was worried about. And for the most part, they showed up. The only one that really didn't show up was Kyle Pitts. He was pretty much non-existent throughout the game. But all the other ones, they pretty much owned us for the majority of the game. Marcus Mariota, he was lighting us up for the majority of the game. Cordell Patterson, God dang, man, he was running over our safeties. He was he trucked Tyrann Mathieu a couple times. He was running with some force. I'm not gonna lie, I called him old. I was saying maybe he was gonna fall off the cliff. Maybe his age was gonna hit him and affect him at some point. That did not happen. He was running over us for the first 3 quarters, and the Saints' run defense looked terrible for the first 3 quarters. And then I kind of threw in at the end there, at the end, Drake London, I kind of just labeled him as like the third player that the Saints had to worry about, and mostly said that he was kind of injured and didn't know if he was really going to play, but he played and he ate the Saints up there on a couple plays, and he was the player that got drawn for the the pass interference or the holding play that got him the first down. That I honestly, when that happened, I thought the game was over. But that's enough talking about the Falcons players that really showed up for the Falcons. And I thought they were all, I was like, oh God, all the players I listed are going to contribute and end up beating the Saints. But really, let's talk about the Saints' struggles on offense. Like, really, I thought, Alvin Kamara, I guess he looked so good in the last preseason game, but I guess it was because he was just running over the Chargers' second, third string, fourth string offensive line, and also they had Trevor Penning in that game, and he was such a beast in that game, but they didn't have him, and the offensive line just didn't really look good. He wasn't opening holes for Alvin Kamara or Mark Ingram. And Mark Ingram also had that fumble on the broken play, which I can't blame him too much because that was a wild play and discombobulated play. So that was really the only turnover they had. So Jameis Winston did do well protecting the ball besides that. And they just couldn't protect. They didn't protect Jameis Winston very well until the fourth quarter. But I was very disappointed with how overall the offensive line played until the fourth quarter. They didn't do well. And then the defense, man, they were just getting run over. Defending the run, they were just terrible, awful, allowing big runs. And like I said, Cordell Patterson was just bulling over people. He was going beast mode on them for the majority of the game. Like the first three quarters, it was terrible. But that's one thing about Dennis Allen's defense is they make great second half adjustments, and that's really what you saw. But you didn't really see it until the end of the third quarter and the second half, and they really struggled the majority of the game, but they got it together and towards the end of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter, the defense and the offense. And then next thing I want to talk about is Will Lutz. Man, when he missed that first field goal, I was like, oh man, same thing with him. He looked so great in preseason, and then he misses that I guess it was, trying to think, that was like a 40-yard something field goal. He missed that, and I was really, let's see how long of a field goal that was. That was it doesn't say here. It was it was a 44-yard field goal, and I was just like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. That would have helped a lot. And that just simple things like that just ruin momentum in games. But he came through big with the 51-yarder to help take the lead, 20, 27, 26. And then I mentioned the second half adjustments, and they mentioned that the Falcons really stopped blitzing and stuff. But I think maybe it was partially that the Falcons stopped blitzing, but I don't know if it was all that. I think it helped that the offensive line started protecting better, and that maybe the wide receivers started getting more open, and I think it helped that Michael Thomas started going off because he had 5 catches for 57 yards, and he had those 2 touchdowns. And man, that's something that really annoyed me a lot from Falcons fans. They were talking about AJ. That's something that they've really been hot on, and they've been gassing up, really juicing up, talking about how AJ Terrell like owns Michael Thomas, which is like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, because like the last two games that Michael Thomas has played against the Falcons, he had 100 yards. So I don't know where they get that from, saying that AJ Terrell owns Michael Thomas or owns the Saints at all, because on that Taysom Hill 50 something yard run, he also juked AJ Terrell and put him in the ground as well. And there's a couple other plays where he got run over as well. So I don't know where they think that AJ Terrell is some elite cornerback or even better than Marshawn Lattimore, even though Marshawn Lattimore didn't have a great game. He had a couple interesting plays that could be debated when you talk about the referees, and that's something I want to talk about as well. I think that's maybe the last closing thing that I want to talk about here is the referees, man. They seem to be like they wanted to do almost everything in their power to try to give this game to the Falcons. And the first one came when there was about a minute left in the first half. Like that was a fumble. That was a fumble, and that would have kept 3 points off the board there, and that alone would have kept it from us even having to kick the 51-yarder towards the end of the game. And the fact that they didn't even review it was ridiculous. And the way every time anything like controversial happened, like for the Falcons, the way Arthur Smith would like come out towards like midfield and like scream and yell at the refs, like that also like drove me crazy. I couldn't believe they never threw a flag on him for unsportsmanlike conduct, with the way he was like always coming out towards midfield, like trying to call timeouts or like yelling at the refs. And then at the very end of the game, like how they put on like 2 more seconds because like the Saints were like celebrating, and Marshawn Lattimore like accidentally knocked down a Falcons player, like and gave him a 15-yard penalty to even put him in field goal range to kick a field goal. Like honestly, I can't remember the last time Younghoe Koo has missed a field goal. Like when that happened, I honestly thought he was going to make that field goal and they were going to win. Like, but that was definitely the biggest play of Peyton Turner and Zach Bond's career, coming up and blocking that field goal. Like I barely could even watch that play. I had to like one eye that play, but man, you can't have any better feeling than winning ones like that. Like blowouts are great, but winning close games like that, and coming back from 16-point deficits and doing it against the Falcons on week 1, it doesn't get much better than that. So with that, can I get a check, please? And who dat?